Hello everyone and welcome back to Bobbin's Minecraft Let's Play series featuring the Infinity Evolved Skyblock mod pack. You're watching episode 10. We're up to 10 episodes now. And in this episode, I want to get a lot done. But I got a little bit of a problem because getting a lot done is going to mean a really long episode, and unfortunately I've already done 2 of those recently and I don't want to keep on doing that. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm still going to talk about everything I want to talk about. There are really 4 things I want to do in this episode before moving on, and I'm still going to talk about all of them. But I think what I'm going to end up doing here is when you see this episode uploaded, there might be a part 1 and a part 2. I will go ahead and cut it at some reasonable point. There will be a little bit of an interruption because I'm not going to know exactly where that point is in advance, but I will take and cut it at some point and split it up if it looks like it's going to be more than 30 minutes, which I'm sure it will be. That way you will be able to watch just a single episode if you want, or you can watch both parts of it at once, just sort of giving you some choice here on it without having to cut off your viewing in the middle of the episode and then pick up at the same point the next time. So let's take a quick look at what has transpired, because there's been a lot of time. One thing that has transpired is, look at all those diamonds. I have come up with a solution to the diamonds so it's not short, and I've got over 600 of them there. That's really nice. There's actually been quite a bit of time to accumulate those. It's not something that just happened immediately, but I do have a nice inflow of diamonds at this point, and I don't expect to have shortages anytime soon. If I do, I can expand my solution and have more. So the other thing that's been going on between episodes is I've built 2 new platforms. I'm coming over here towards the farms, but instead of going up the stairs to the farm, let's look down here. Here's one of the new platforms. The other one is directly overhead. Just looking at what's on this platform so far, the intent is that this platform will be the raw materials factory. This platform will be where all of that piping and stuff that's making metal ingots gets moved to eventually. I'll probably do all that moving and setting up of those sorts of automated machines between episodes, because I think I can cover how they work pretty adequately without dwelling on them too much. I've already looked at them a little bit. What we've got here is a new cobble generator to act as sort of the base of it, and at the moment I'm not doing the whole production chain, but I am producing dust, sand, and gravel, and trying to get a little bit of a backlog here. It's a very slow process. These machines are actually faster than the thermal expansion machines on the other platform. These generate 9 gravel, sand, dust at a time instead of just 1, because they work on compressed blocks. They're pretty expensive. Each one takes 18 diamonds, but of course I've got plenty of diamonds now. The other thing that's down here is actually where the diamonds are coming from. Let's look at what's happening here. In this first little setup here, this first station, I've got a pulverizer that's grinding up iron ingots. And those iron ingots are going down into an induction smelter that is then taking and smelting the resulting dust right back into iron ingots. And if I look over here at the side, I can see iron ingots come out and then go straight back into the pulverizer, where they just get pulverized again. Well, what's up with that? That seems rather pointless, just taking grinding them up and smelting them back and grinding and just repeatedly doing that indefinitely. What it's actually doing is it's converting sand into slag. So I've got 722 slag in this drawer that has accumulated so far, and sand is input into the induction smelter. It occasionally produces slag as a side effect of the smelting operation that it's repeatedly doing, and so I'm accumulating some slag. Right next to it here, I've got sand coming into an auto workbench and getting made into sandstone. The sandstone then goes into a pulverizer, then it gets pulverized right back into sand, but losing half of it. And if we look back behind here, you can see that the sand just sort of comes back up here. Most of it, really all of it, is going to go straight back into the workbench and be recycled to reduce the amount of sand that's going through there. Well, this is just like the other machine. The other machine is grinding up iron ingots and making them right back into iron ingots. This one is making sand into sandstone and then grinding it right back up into sand. But again, it's going for the side effect. The side effect is that it produces niter. I've got 900 niter right now. I've also got 1024 pulverized charcoal in this drawer that is full. That's just coming from this pulverizer that's grinding up charcoal. Okay, so what do you do with slag, charcoal, and niter? Many of you will know, some of you may not. If you watched my other series on the Hoarder's Delight mod pack, you probably do know. This is making phytogrow. And phytogrow is one of the inputs of these machines over here that are called phytogenic insulators. These machines take water and fertilizer. There's phytogrow and there's rich phytogrow. With seeds, it produces some surplus seeds plus a crop. In this case, the crop, since the seeds are Diamolia seeds, the crop is diamond nuggets. Down here a little further, this one is redstodendron seeds, so the crop is redstone. So I'm producing diamond nuggets using 3 of these and redstone using 1. And it all comes out here and it goes up there and it goes into storage. This is my diamond factory. It works really well as long as you can keep it supplied with energy, sand, water, and charcoal. So coming back up here to the top platform, this is a maximum size low pressure boiler and it's just using charcoal. Not all of the engines are running right now. Truth is, I don't need all the power it's outputting. These engines running completely suppress really the other engines running. When I first set this up, I did set up a high pressure boiler which will run 18 engines instead of the 9 that this one will run. And I found that it was going through fuel way faster than I really wanted. It wasn't acceptable, so I've scaled it down. I'm actually still generating a surplus of charcoal with this particular boiler. I might use some of the high pressure tanks that I had left over to set up another high pressure boiler if I have a power shortfall at some point. I haven't had any power problems. I really don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I'm going to have other power solutions come online in various places that will sort of replace the need for this. So I said I wanted to talk about 4 things today, and all I've talked about is what I did between episodes, which is not among the 4 things. The 4 things I want to set up, one of them is going to be up here. I plan on setting up something that some of you may have been wondering, well, when is Bobbin going to set this up? I'm going to set up a mob grinder. This is going to be a sort of first generation mob grinder for this series. I do anticipate that eventually I may have more than one mob grinder, and this one will probably get upgraded along the way. It's not going to meet all of my needs, but I do have a critical need going forward for ender pearls, and it should satisfy that. The other things I want to set up over on this side, and if you remember from me previously discussing, this side over here is planned to be more production based on things that are in inventory. The other side is production based on stuff that comes from nothing and then that goes to storage. This is pulling stuff out of storage and making things out of it. The thing I want to set up over here is I want to automate my lasers for BuildCraft so that I can make chipsets sort of on demand rather than having to go and make that a manual process. I've got some additional lasers and assembly tables in the box right there. When I get to that, you'll see all that. We'll set that up over here. And the last 2 things I want to work on are going to be on this other platform over here that has been sitting empty. It really hasn't been sitting empty. I grew a bunch of rubber trees over here. I'm finally going to get started on a magic mod. And the magic mod I'm going to start with is at the base of the progression. It's Botania. There's sort of an ulterior motive besides getting started with magic mods to starting with Britannia, because the other thing I'm going to put on this platform is I'm going to go ahead and get started with everybody's either favorite or favorite to hate. One of those 2, bees. Yes, I'm going to get started with bees today. I'm not going to do very much with them, and most of the sort of bee breeding that I do is going to be off camera anyway. But if we come over here and look at the achievements, this achievement right here, are you crazy? Bees? Really? It says craft a Gendustry power module. It doesn't actually want you to craft a power module, it wants you to craft what's in the picture. What's in the picture is an industrial apiary from Gendustry. When you make that, you do get an achievement for it, so it is one of the core achievements. The thing is, one of the components of that, and it is the power module, is in this mod pack a bee product. The normal recipe for it would have you make it out of bronze and redstone and glass and that sort of stuff. So you have to do a lot, and it's from a fairly advanced bee, so you have to do a lot of bee breeding sort of the hard way to get to it. Now, when I say you got to do it the hard way, there is a workaround. I don't know how much I'm going to employ it because it's not really one of my favorite mods. It's not one I have a ton of experience with, actually, but when I worked with it a little bit before, I found it a bit complicated and power hungry, and sorry, Benny, that's kind of how it is. I like the Gendustry mod for doing the bee genetics, not the genetics mod, but it's worth mentioning that if you do like the genetics mod, it is available to you. There probably is one machine from it that I will be using. I'll probably use the acclimatizer. The reason for that is because we're kind of stuck in a deep ocean biome. I think it'll be much easier to do everything here and just use the acclimatizer to adjust the bees so that they can operate in this climate on an as-needed basis. I'll do all that bee breeding off camera. I'm going to do some initial setup here today just so that you see it. I'm also going to do the initial setup here on Botania. Why don't we get started with that right now? The first thing I'm going to need for Botania is, really, there are two first things I'm going to need. How about that? I'm going to need a Lexica Botania, which is made from a book. I do have one here, and a sapling. And you know, I don't remember this from the default recipe. Maybe it is in the default recipe and I just haven't done it. I don't know. It requires 2 gold nuggets. I don't remember it requiring 2 gold nuggets before. Maybe that's new in Britannia. Maybe it's part of this mod pack, but it makes no sense in this mod pack because 2 gold nuggets, I mean, that's not making anything more difficult, really. Alright, so that's the Lexica Britannia. For the benefit of anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a book, and it actually contains a ton of information. You do get an achievement right there for opening it. But this contains all of the information for the Botania mod. The other item that we're going to need is the Petal Apothecary. And you know, you can see I'm already not using the Lexica Botania because it's easier to look it up in here. For the Petal Apothecary, we're going to need 3 double compressed cobblestone, which you probably just saw me grab, 2 cobblestone slabs, a cauldron, and any color of flower petal. Let's look at the cauldron first. The cauldron is from iron plates, not iron ingots. So let's go over here, and I'll just request some iron plates. Don't have any made. I'll need 7 of them, so let's just wait a minute for those. In the meantime, the way that you get the petals, there's 2 ways just for getting started. And later on you can use mana to get them. There's a flower that causes flowers to grow. In this mod pack, of course, you have no open world, so you can't just go and get the flowers out of the open world. One way to get them is to use agricraft. There are seeds that you can breed. And let's just take a look over here. Mystical, it's these right here, that produce petals as their crop that you harvest. And they can be bred from various others. So a white tulip and a daisy will get you a mystical white flower seed. They do have to be grown on podzol, which is a little unusual. There is a recipe for that, though. It's just dirt surrounded by spruce leaves, so that's not a problem, really. This is great if you want a large number of petals because you can get a continual supply of them coming in from crops on a farm, and you can just passively generate huge numbers of petals. If you want the flowers themselves, like let's say you want to make the floating flowers, this isn't going to work. It's kind of overkill to go and breed all of those seeds if you're only going to use a small number of petals. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're only going to use a small number of them in the short term. In the long run, I might change my mind, but in the long run, I might have a flower that can produce the flowers. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use floral fertilizer. And floral fertilizer has two different recipes that are of interest here. One of them is this one on the top that requires floral powders. These are made by grinding up petals using a mortar and pestle. And it uses bone meal. And the advantage of this one is it uses any color you like. So you can basically take your existing flowers and use them to make fertilizer to grow more. Repeat the process. It always gives a surplus. The other recipe uses conventional Minecraft dyes. It specifically has to be 2 yellow and 2 red along with a bone meal. But I have set that recipe up in here, and I could just go and craft some of it. So let's just request 10 of them, and it'll make those while I'm making the cauldron. So there we go. And do I have any I already have some cobblestone slabs. Good. So all I need now is the petal to go right there, which means I need to grow some flowers. Any color petal will do for this recipe, but I do have a big patch of dirt down here, and I can just click down here a few times. The flowers are placed in such a way that you always get 3 or 4 unless you totally run out of space. It's not going to be the case that they overlap and you miss getting a flower because there were some already there. That doesn't happen. That's why I said earlier that it always produces a surplus to grind into the floral dust to make the fertilizer. Alright, so I got a bunch of them there. I'm not going to use up all my floral fertilizer because I've actually already gotten a bunch of them. That was just sort of a demonstration. Let's just pick one that I don't think I'm going to need right away. We'll go for magenta. Just combine the flower, get a couple of petals, put one of them away since I don't need it right now. Put those away since I don't need them right now. And petal apothecary. Alright, so let's go back down here and place this petal apothecary. And it's common to take and place it somewhere next to a pool of water so that you have water available, but I have a tank of water available, so I'm going to use that instead. And my first flower I'm going to create, which is always the first flower you create, maybe always is a bit strong, but it's pretty close. I'm going to need some seeds, and I didn't get any. Do I even have... Oh, yeah, I do. I know what I can do. Let me come over here and get some seeds. So coming back down here... Okay. This is 4 white petals. So I toss 4 of them in there, and a seed, and I get a pure daisy. I'm going to have to make some more pure daisies. So let's come over here and get some more water. And it always says right click with an empty hand to add back the last recipe, but I never have an empty hand, especially since I just refilled it with water. I guess if you pipe some water in or something, you might have an empty hand. How was I supposed to do that? Well, it didn't work. Maybe the next time around I'll read the instructions a little more closely. Right click with an empty hand. There we go. I'll toss the seed in. Alright. So this thing also fills in the rain, I believe, but I'll just go ahead and fill it so that I leave it in a filled state. The important part about the Pure Daisy, and I apologize to those who've been through all this before, is that this is what you use to get your basic building materials for starting Botania with, which are living wood and living stone. So I'll just come over here and place a bunch of stone around these flowers on this side. Nice to have silk touch. And a bunch of logs over here on this side. And I guess I can cover the light since I'm standing right here. The top and the bottom side don't count, so I have to remove that. Alright, and shortly all of these will begin to transform. And I think 16 might be enough to do what I need to immediately demonstrate. Once we get this going, we're going to set up a mana pool and some mana spreaders and get some mana production going. In order to have mana production, I have to have more flowers. I'm going to use day blooms, even though it's night right now. They require 2 yellow petals, 2 blue petals, and 2 orange petals. That's not right. It's 2 yellow, 1 light blue, and 1 orange, and I did count them out in the right proportions, I just didn't say it correctly. And so these have all transformed. I'll dig them up in a minute. Let's go ahead and one of those, 2 of those, and there we got our day bloom. Alright, so I have 4 day blooms. That will be enough to get us started. Let me chop all these out. So what I'm going to have to use these for is to make a mana spreader and a mana pool so that I can collect up the mana and put it somewhere. The mana pool, yeah, I didn't bring a crafting table down here. Let me come up here. You know, I don't need to. I've got logs down here. Let me make a crafting table down here. Oh yes, the eternal need for more wood than you would predict. Alright, so crafting table. Okay, this short U configuration gets you a mana pool, and I don't really need it on the dirt. I'm just going to put it over, maybe one more out. I'll put it here. And I'm going to need a mana spreader. The mana spreader involves, I'm going to need petals for that. What do I have a lot of? Cyan, I guess. You know, actually I have this leftover petal here. Alright. And gold ingot. So, I seem to recall the mana spreader to have that recipe. There we go, mana spreader. Now I'm going to put the mana spreader pointing toward the pool. If you get it pointed the wrong way, then you can chop it down and reorient it, or alternatively you can go ahead and make the wand. I'm not going to do that right now, but I will have to make one at some point. And let's just put these down. They need to be spaced out so that they're not adjacent on the sides. And they're not going to produce any mana right now because it's dark. There is a flower that produces at night. I'm not going to use it. All of these passive flowers decay very quickly. They're just to get started with. This should now begin to produce some mana. Without the Wand of the Forest, I can't really tell how much mana it's producing. But if I leave this unattended for a while I go work on bees, when I come back there should be just a little bit of blue here in the mana pool to indicate that we've got mana coming in.